morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. My name is Callie, and this is another weekend of clarinets, cats, and coffee. Now, this year, in 2025, we have started the year out taking a deep dive into the intricacies of building a good practice routine for yourself. And so the first video of the year, I shared all the things that we should be practicing every day and for how long. Last week, I took a deep dive into my absolute favorite way, and in my opinion, the most effective way to practice long tones. My brain just cannot focus, and the video I shared last week is kind of the only way I can focus doing long tones, so be sure to check that out if that sounds like you. This week we are going to take a dive into finger dexterity, and I'm going to share some fundamentals that we all have to keep in mind when we're practicing good hand and finger technique, and a few things that you can implement into your own practice routine at different levels, so very easy up through advanced. Anybody watching this video can take some great tips away. Now, the etude that I just played for you is from the Magnani method. It's from the second book, and it's a study in the key of F minor. And I chose that because I haven't really worked a whole lot on my pinkies in a while, and I thought it would be nice to focus on that in today's practice. And so I played that for you today in case any of you guys want to work on that as well. And side note, I have shared that PDF, last week's long tone PDF, and the PDF on how to structure practice time, all with patrons and channel members. So if you're not already a supporter, be sure to head over there. You can check it out, get access to all those cool PDFs and the exercises and studies here that I share on my channel. So thank you all. I greatly appreciate the support. Now, the tips that I share with you today, you can apply to anything you practice in this category of your practice. Okay, finger speed is probably one of the most sought after techniques in clarinet playing. That's one of the top reasons why people reach out to me through my website wanting lessons with me. They want to know how to increase their finger speed. So usually the first thing that I tell somebody when they play for me is how to improve their fundamentals. And we all know fundamentals are important, right? Without good technique, there's no foundation to build speed off of. And so the four things I'm about to say are things that we should all try to keep in mind when we are really trying to focus on improving our finger speed, dexterity, strength, all of that, okay? So number one is coordination. Now, even in the very first measure of the etude that I played for you guys, coordination between those notes requires the movement of two pinkies simultaneously, lifting and pressing, so that the transition between the note sounds smooth. So that's what I mean about coordination. We don't want to have any bloops or blips or squeaks or shrieks or chirps between notes. The second big fundamental is hand and finger position when we're playing. And so this could be something different for different people. I like to play with my thumb. I have really long fingers. I'm 6 feet tall. I have very long hands. So when I play, I have to keep my position in mind so I can, move my fingers around, right? And so my thumb position, I'll try to show you back here. I line up maybe right on my knuckle. I see a lot of people who will hold their instrument way in here, which even with short fingers, that's kind of bad because then you get lazy. You hold the clarinet here, maybe you rest it on this finger instead of on your thumb. So make sure that you are actually using your thumb rest on your thumb and curving, now this is very important, curving your fingers over this rod right here to press into your keys. So we don't want inverted knuckles. We don't want flat fingers either. We want slightly curved fingers for greater control and better coordination. And the same goes with the upper hand as well. We do want to be careful not to let the left hand float up a little too high. I try to keep my hand a little bit lower so that I can also reach the pinky keys. Okay, so that's your hand and finger position in a nutshell. The third component is control, okay? And I say this slowly because control can only happen when we practice slow. So when I think of slow practice in fast technical passages, I imagine I am doing slow, controlled motions. And when I do the slow, controlled motions, I'm building muscle. Slow, controlled motions build muscle, which improve the speed when we want to go fast, okay? And under this category of control is also not just the pressing, but the lifting, okay? So we want to be careful not to let our fingers flail around when we play and jump around uncontrollably, okay? And so if you watch really great clarinet players, watch their hands and fingers. When they're doing fast passages, their fingers are very relaxed and they're very close to the keys. Now, slow legato stuff, that's debatable. People will do all kinds of weird stuff with their hands and fingers, and that's not really concerning so much when you're doing more lyrical passages because you've got time to move. But you do want to train your fingers in slow passages to stay close to the keys and not flail around all over the place. So, slow, controlled practice. And the final part of good fundamentals to improve our finger dexterity and speed actually comes from our sound. So embouchure and air support. Now this is my favorite thing to tell people, and they're like, whoa, whenever I tell them this. Well, not everybody, but some people already know this, but a lot of people. Okay, so when I go into doing something like this, where I'm doing a bunch of like technical stuff, I focus intensely on using long tone air whenever I start. And when I switch my brain to long tone air, it gives me a good sound, first of all. It makes me breathe better. It makes me blow better. And also, it makes notes speak. One of the biggest problems with fast technique is notes just sometimes don't come out. And that's simply because we get distracted and we forget to blow air through our instrument and the note doesn't come out. Or we do something weird with our embouchure, okay? So good embouchure and air fundamentals will allow notes to come out with a beautiful sound. Even fast stuff has to sound beautiful. Now, those are my 4 big tips for good fundamentals. Now, the next part I'm going to discuss is mainly how you can implement this into your own practice based on what level you're at, okay? So let's say you need to practice easier finger technique, easier drills. So that would involve single finger motions. Think Close method, Bayerman method, very early in method books, okay? Single finger drills with a metronome to hold yourself accountable for controlling your technique. And that may also include partial scales below the break and maybe triads. So that means at whatever speed with a metronome works for you. So that's the easy level. Easy intermediate level may involve more complex finger drills, maybe full octave scales and arpeggios. Intermediate level would involve complex finger drills, 2 octave scales, thirds, arpeggios, things like that. Intermediate advanced would be something like working through the Albert scale method, and at this point you may start adding more etudes to your routine as well to target specific areas of technique. So think Kristen Denny Chambers finger fitness etudes. That's an example of that. And then in the more advanced category, you would be practicing 3+ octave scales, arpeggios, thirds, all of that, in addition to more complex etudes and studies. So think like Opperman or even like Palachuk. Okay, so if you take a second, you listen to everything that I just mentioned and how to structure and which category. In all of those, I mentioned scales, arpeggios, and scale patterns, okay? I think that scales are kind of like the best way to practice finger speed and dexterity because, like, hello, music is built off of scales and triads and thirds and all variations in between of that, okay? And so there are many methods to choose from, many different books. You can change it up. So, moral of the story, guys, practice finger dexterity and technique every single day. Do scales, and if you have time, add a little study like the one that I played at the beginning of this video for you to keep things musical and expressive. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, a good week next week, and as always, happy practicing.